It's nighttime in the rural Midwest. The Cowboys of Kool Valley are back in town, and they're ready to boogie. Saddle up, whistle britches.
Out of the bowels of the earth and the belly of the beast, through the fire and smoke and brimstone of hell itself, the music industry, comes a new company with women and men who wish to change that which has been happening since time began.
Leave your worries for a while. I'll still be there when you get back.
I'm just a free bird, totally free, and happy still to be with my crew and leeward over the sea. Oh, you could have been the Queen of Sheba with a rose between your butt cheeks. This is John. I'm a little too depressed to take your call today. Please leave your message at the gunshot. Life is like a box of hand grenades, I can't explain it. Your purple raincoat and your boots were such a sweet arrangement that I was bound to follow you through alleyway and avenue until you finally shook me at the zoo. How come you ain't got the time of day for me no more? Did you think you had the only one on Yesler Street, Lenore?
Friends and neighbors, welcome to this very special episode of Cowboys of Kool Valley. Today we're going to be talking about John Callahan's only album, Purple Winos in the Rain. Let's get right into it. John Callahan was an American cartoonist, songwriter, and true original. He was born in Portland, Oregon on February 5th, 1951. At the age of 21, he was involved in a drunk driving accident, leaving him a quadriplegic, or quad, as he called it for short. He was also adopted at birth, and these two major life events have formed his work as much as his playful yet dark sense of humor. Callahan overcame his setbacks enough to become a prolific cartoonist, eventually landing a weekly panel at the Portland newspaper, the Willamette Week. His dark and unflinching sense of humor occasionally courted controversy, and the dedicated folks behind the Willamette stood behind their brilliant cartoonist. He would go on to national fame, being syndicated and selling his cartoons to be used on greeting cards and the like. He wrote several books and an animated series, Quads, which is available online these days. Callahan even drew an album cover for John Prine. He met Bob Dylan, became friends with Tom Waits. There's even been a documentary made about him, and also a feature film directed by Gus Van Sant, starring Joaquin Phoenix. Here's a cut from Purple Winos in the Rain, my personal favorite. Touch me someplace I can feel.
Broken veins and broken needles, I'm too tired to make a fist. Charlie Manson sings the Beatles. I should have known it would end like this. Stick it deep and light my candles. Help yourself to my last meal. I've had all that I can handle. Touch me someplace I can feel. In the dream I'm in the desert. I feel the fever from a scorpion's sting. It's a burning fire and it creeps like ether. But it feels so good when it warps everything. Life is hard, but death is worth it. Nothing's certain, nothing's real. Give me something cheap but perfect. Touch me someplace I can feel. The night wind wails and the window crashes. It blows my eyes out as I cling to the drape. The nurse is tired and her feet are aching. She's got better things to do with her tape. Oh, sweet Jane, my faithless daughter, use your blues and let's get real. When I walk, I'll walk on water. Touch me someplace I can feel.
Callahan's autobiography, Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, is a beautiful and harrowing tale of a person finding their way in the world in the face of numerous setbacks: adoption, alcoholism, quadriplegia, alcoholism. The film focuses on the section of the book dealing with John's alcoholism, and he eventually overcame drinking with the help of AA and some very kind and generous people. They're out there, folks. They're out there. The book is fantastic. The film is a touching and unflinching look at the struggles that every alcoholic deals with, and I really can't say enough good things about it. It's not a perfect representation of John, but a perfect expression of the despair, pain, and strength that alcoholics carry with them throughout their lives. John sadly passed away due to complications from quadriplegia in 2010, but his art lives on, friends and neighbors. Hell, it's living right here in Kool Valley, among other places. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Terry Robb, producer and guitarist, close friend of John Callahan's. He produced Purple Winos in the Rain, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about the making of the album. The plan is just to have a conversation about this record on the record.
Okay.
So, I guess to start, how did you first meet John?
Excuse me. Well, John is like, excuse me, he's a pretty famous cartoonist, and he lived in Portland, and he worked out of Portland, and he was a friend of my manager back in the 80s, and he brought him to my gig, and we met and stuff like that, and then he did my first album cover called Next Window.
Okay.
And we just kept in touch. I mean, we didn't hang out that much, but we kept in touch, and then years later, that would have been 85, 86, and then when we did the record, which I believe was 2000, and I can't remember.
It came out in 06.
6,
Yeah.
So we would see each other, but then when I started working on the record, we got to be very, very close.
Yeah.
So, but we saw each other off and on here and there.
Did you know that he made music before he approached you
No.
about making an album?
I did not. He got a hold of me and said, I've got some songs for a record, and I want you to, would you be interested in hearing my songs? And I said, sure. So I went over to his house and his apartment, and I said, okay, play me your songs. And he started singing, Life is Like a Box of Hand Grenades. I can't explain. I said, stop, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he had worked out some stuff with somebody else, just the tunes, because he didn't have great mobility.
Right.
And then we rearranged those, and then there was a few of those, and then we worked on all the rest. The two of us. He would give me ideas about where he wanted maybe the chords to go and stuff like that. He could bang out a piano a little bit and stuff. So I listened to what he had, and I arranged it basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we went in the studio, I recorded. I played on it, and then I hired people to play on it. And so that's how that came. Pre-production was pretty fun. We spent a lot of time on pre-production, so we were very prepared when we went in.
Yeah. I imagine you guys, just by the little bit I saw in the documentary, that you guys had a pretty strong, similar vocabulary when it came to music.
Yeah, we liked the same stuff, and we liked the same attitude about things, and and whenever he'd come to see me play, he always wanted me to play the old Big Bill Brunsey song, Key to the Highway.
Yeah.
In fact, the last time I saw him, he came to a show of mine, and I played it for him. But, and he was very influenced by Dylan and Leonard Cohen, and Kiki Friedman was a really good friend of his. Tom Waits, is on the record on his answering machine.
Yeah.
So, he was he's very well educated, and and obviously very, very funny, clever, witty, and just a really interesting guy. But he was just I like John a lot. I adored him. He's a really good friend, and I liked him a lot as a person. I know his family pretty well now.
Yeah. From the documentary and other interviews that I've seen, he seems like a pretty lovable guy in general.
Oh, he is. Yeah. He can be ornery, but he couldn't help himself sometimes. But he it's just me. But he was never really that way to me and stuff. But he didn't suffer fools, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
gather that. If something really upset him, he'd do a cartoon about it. Then it would be in, across the United States.
There's trouble in the steeples, and the crows are set to fly. But there's apples in the baskets, and a dead moon in the sky. The old man in the orchard, he's moving slow but sure. The nuns are taking care of him, they're praying for a cure. When the bells ring through the mist from the abbey, clear and crisp, and the swallows gather tight in the last gasp of the light, well, there's something about the softness of the colors on the wall that keeps me from committing suicide in the fall. Well, the village girls are wilting, and the cider press is slow. The festival is winding down, the band has lost its glow. Well, I tried so hard to tell you, but I could not make it plain. When the leaves were scraping frantically against the window pane, well, I guess you always knew that's the way it is with you, with your secrets and your schemes and your caramel apple dreams. Well, there's something about the hoarseness of the voices as they call that keeps me from committing suicide in the fall.
What does a producer do in general?
If you were going to make a record, you would play me your songs. I would help you rearrange the songs, maybe help you write songs, book the studio time, book the musicians, do the arrangements of the music in the studio, work with the engineer on the sound, how we want to record the drums, how we want to record the guitars, and then work with the singers and their vocal performances, which I did a lot with John, and then mix it, which is kind of like editing a movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's not unlike being a movie director.
I was kind of thinking that as you were explaining it to me. Yeah.
I studied filmmaking in college. I was already a musician, but I'm a movie buff, so I took some filmmaking classes. And the part I liked the best was editing. And I also quickly realized I liked watching movies better than making them.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff I picked up and carried over into recording, because back then, this is the mid-'70s, there weren't college universities didn't offer any recording studio classes or courses. Mm-hmm. So I kind of took the whole editing thing, and it helped later in life, just like studying music theory helped.
What was different about making this record as opposed to other records that you had made?
Well, first off, it was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of emotional investment by both of us in it. And there was complete freedom. I mean, and I knew John enough to, what he would need on certain songs and things like that. And we didn't try to overproduce it. It was basically, acoustic guitar, a little bass, maybe, on piano, and I brought in people who brought something with them. For instance, Peter Bowe plays on on piano. He brought some really interesting. I said, here's the chord changes and stuff, but the way he played them and how he voiced them and rhythmically was "Suicide in the Fall."
Yes.
Is a really beautiful song, and a lot of that has to do with not only John's melody and his singing, but what Peter Bowe did with the chord changes.
Yeah.
Peter Bowe wrote a lot of songs for Robert Cray.
Okay. And is that why you used 3 different piano players, was to get that kind of different abilities from different players for the songs?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I always do that. If there's somebody, if I need a boogie-woogie person, I know somebody who does that really well. If somebody wants more like Bill Evans, I'm not going to ask them to play boogie-woogie and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
And I know they're going to bring something to it. And, and he certainly did. Suicide in the Fall is probably my favorite song off that record.
Yeah, it's close for me, but Touch Me Someplace I Can Feel is my favorite. I can't get over the imagery and stuff in that song, and
Sure.
It's just the perfect line, that touch me someplace I can feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like those old country songs, where the verse circles back around to that main line right at the end of the song. I mean, and his voice even has that kind of country roll in it a little bit, especially on the solo version where he's playing it on the ukulele.
Oh, yeah.
He had just a great vocal ability.
Well, he did, yeah. John had that, he had that sort of childlike innocence to his voice, but he was world weary as well, and had wisdom. He had that all mixed up.
Yeah.
He was like that in person too. He was funny though. God, I mean, shit he would say would crack me up. He would call me late at night and we'd talk for hours. Yeah, I'll tell you one of the greatest, funniest experiences of my life is we watched the Grammys together one night, and his commentary was just hilarious.
Sunshine through the Sunday rain. How was I supposed to see? Every love song sounds insane till you hear a heartbreak free. All the goodbyes of a lifetime fly away like frightened crows. All the goodbyes rang like bell chimes in her voice, like one hello. Oh, she said, I've never met you, though I know I've felt you kick. Or maybe I just dreamed you up to figure out what makes me tick. Yes, I feel your ragdoll hunger. Yes, I said, I think I know how it feels to float and wonder where the anchor just to prove that nothing's real that has to hide in flesh and blood. Up the stairs, she dragged me sideways as my bells fell through the cracks. Down the hall, I heard her screaming like a bug upon her back. By the keyhole, I did cower as the moon cracked through her bones, till at last, the darkest hour, when I heard her final moans. At dawn I found her on the shingles, feeding seagulls like a child. In my legs I felt a tingle and the start of something wild.
In the documentary, there's a bit where he's being driven someplace. He's riding in the back, and I don't know how well he knew his driver or whatever, but he's back there singing the song about wrap your dick around your neck. I mean, he's just yeah.
Well, he had people who drove him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the one that the documentary that I think it was a Danish woman made that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't recall what her name is.
I can't either. I remember at the premiere she brought Rutger Hauer with her.
Really?
Yeah. That was like the next guy she was going to do a documentary on. And then there's the Hollywood movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you like that?
I loved it.
I thought it was good too.
I loved it, and I feel like it's a kind of a different thing, you know? You can't really judge it as that's John, but you can judge it as this is the story that John wanted to tell. That's kind of how I take it, you know?
Well, the thing is I got into it, and it's hard for me sometimes to see movies about people I know when somebody's playing them, but I got lost in the movie. I thought it was really good, and it's centered around his sobriety, you know.
Which is why I love it so much, yeah.
Yeah, which was just a part of his life, and some of it wasn't true, but for the most part, it was really, I liked it a lot. In fact, I told people to go see it. Van Zandt did that, and I think Van Zandt was going through sobriety stuff, and this was his film about it, really.
Yeah,
but they were close. They were good friends.
Yeah, I mean, he nailed the experience. I mean, I'm sober, but an alcoholic myself, and it really nailed the devastation that someone goes through.
He really did. I enjoyed it. He sold his story to Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Callahan did. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah. I think Williams originally wanted to play him, right?
Yeah, and he just got too old.
Yeah.
And he gave it back to John.
Really?
Yeah, he just gave it back to him. He was in the rehab here near Portland and came to visit John, you know.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't too long before John died. There's a alcoholic rehab here in Alcohol Valley, and he came to visit John, but he gave him back the rights, and that's how that movie got made. They didn't have to buy it from Robin Williams.
What a beautiful guy for doing that.
Yeah, he was very hip, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I read somewhere that John had wanted Philip Seymour Hoffman to play him.
Oh, we all did.
Yeah, that...
He looked like him.
Yes, and...
Great actor.
He's my favorite actor of all time.
Really? Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, I've got a picture of him hanging on the wall in this studio that somebody had made for me. You know, one of those canvas print type photos. Yeah, I'm just crazy about him.
It's not William Holden, huh?
No.
I thought he was great, and I mean, it's a shame because he would have just nailed it. Like I said, he had the body language and he had the look, and he, you know, and because John was, you know, kind of he wasn't a real stocky guy, but he wasn't a tall guy or anything like that. But
right.
he was, life was hard. Life was hard for him, and
Yeah.
God bless him, man. I mean, I don't know anybody who could, go with what he went through and do what he did, and the achievement he made through all that, how he turned it around for himself. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
pretty big price to pay for one mistake.
Yeah.
And he was, he just, he moved on, and we did some shows together, but it occurred to me soon that I became aware that it was hard for him. You just can't go to a gig, I mean, it's a big deal getting people to get him there and all that other stuff.
He
And
can
had a
only-
tendency to get mobbed by wannabe cartoonists too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was just hard. So we kept it just kind of local. We did a couple here, and we did one down in Salem, and I think I did some somewhere else. But but it was great. I wish we could have done more because it was so much fun.
What was the show like?
We just did songs off the record.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I think one of them would just die, and him, and then we had a keyboard player on a couple of the other ones.
Oh, really?
We just did songs off the record, and
Was
sat
like a
there and
45-minute show or something like that?
yeah, at the most, probably more like a half hour.
Yeah. He couldn't stay in the chair long, right?
I had to move around and stuff like that. It just. I mean, I'm a professional musician. It takes a lot out of you if you have all your facilities. But for him, it was hard,
Yeah.
and so I didn't push it much further than that.
You left for good to Hollywood. I watched you thumb a ride. I felt alone and to the bone. I swallowed my pride. The best of times, the worst of times. Hey, are you listening? I sliced the shade with razor blades. Now everything is glistening. How'd you ever get so? How'd you ever get so? How'd you ever get so lost in the city? Anyhow. The motel sign is burning fine with several bulbs missing. I had a chat with Felix the cat while I was pissing. If anyone could save you now, you'd call him your savior. But just like me, they'd probably be out on good behavior. How'd you ever get so? How'd you ever get so? How'd you ever get so lost in the city? Anyhow.
I wish he would have, if he lived longer, I think we maybe could have done more videos and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Was there ever the thought of making another album? Did you guys talk like that when you left Purple Winos?
yeah, I mean, we did. We had leftover tunes, and I don't know. Did you get a copy of those?
No.
Oh, I'll have somebody give. I'll have. Yeah. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Kip asked me to go in and finish those songs. We finished them. There's like 5 other songs. One of them is by the Faces. The other thing, he always wanted to do these songs like by the time I got to Phoenix, That's like that. You really want to always do these songs. And I said, yeah, we could do those, but I think you should do your original songs.
Yeah.
So there was like some unfinished stuff that we finished. And send me an email and remind me, and I'll get it to you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Sure.
The film is actually what exposed me to his music, because I heard Tears in the Rain or Texas When You Go.
Texas When You Go.
Yes. That plays at the end of that. And
yeah. That's us.
Yeah, and I thought, who the hell is that? Is that him? And I listened to the record that night, and I've probably listened to that goddamn thing a couple of hundred times, Terry.
Really?
Yeah, I just...
Well, I would be happy.
I mean, it's really well produced, the way that you guys kept it spare but full, with a good finger-picked guitar background or, the great piano stuff. But those lyrics blow me away, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it was all about the lyrics.
He was a hell of a songwriter for a guy,
he's just a great writer in general. I mean, I always liked it on his website. He used to post his hate mail. Because people would, he'd do these quadriplegic jokes, and people didn't realize that he was one.
Right.
And they get offended and stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah, he probably never responded either, huh?
He just posted it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I liked, I told him, I said, John, I love you, and you're very impressive, but the most impressive thing in the world is that Don Martin is a fan of yours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, because he had a cartoon where it was Martin Luther King as a boy.
Oh,
and
yes.
he's going to the bed and it's wet, and he said, I had a dream.
Yeah, yeah.
And it got banned all over the place, and Don Martin came to his defense.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite one is Let's Walk the Dog. That one?
Right. Yeah.
It's just so simple but hilarious.
Yeah.
I got to think that all of those single-panel cartoons is what made him such a strong writer, because it's such an exercise in economy,
Yes,
saying
absolutely.
as much as you can with as little.
He couldn't really, he had a hard time drawing and writing because of his affliction. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that probably made him more interesting also as a cartoonist, was, figuring out how to draw these things in such a minimalistic way that still represented so well.
Yeah, he had a look. I mean, all cartoonists have a look, like Gary Larson's look, and and Charles Schultz. They have a look. That's the whole thing about cartoonists. They have their own thing.
I met you on a highway night inside a Texas rain. The year that Mama lost her mind and Papa went insane. And Papa went insane. You took me on a Texas trail, Laredo to LaRue. It took me all those Texas towns to fall in love with you, to fall in love with you. The babies came in winter time. You settled by the stove. You played a song that seemed so long, about a road you drove, about a road you drove. Once you There's a Paris far away, and one in Texas too, and one in Texas too. When you speak in shadows, I don't know what I've heard. I do not know until I go to the bottom of your words, to the bottom of your words. The moon is sad inside the pines. Your sleep is soft and slow. When you leave me here in Texas. When you go in Texas, when you go.
Yeah, I was just reading in his quasi-memoir, Will the Real John Callahan Please Stand Up, or something like that it's called.
I never read that.
I was just reading, it's basically a bunch of short stories, autobiographical short stories, and a few cartoons. And there's one that's on Dylan, and him meeting Dylan.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Dylan kissed him on the forehead.
Yeah, and he tells it with such a self-deprecating sense of humor, you know, how the only thing that he could think to say to Bob Dylan was, I write songs too.
Yeah. That was at the Aladdin Theater, and I remember him telling me about that. He also went and saw another experience like that with Christopherson.
Oh, really?
When he came here. Yeah, I think they just said hi or something, but he went to see him and met him. And yeah, it's pretty amazing that Dylan gave him an audience. He was a big Dylan fan, absolutely.
Yeah. He said in the story that it was because Dylan had a daughter that was a fan of his work, and it showed it to Dylan. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
One of his.
He knew of John through that, huh?
Yeah, his cartooning is what brought him there.
Oh, thanks for telling me that. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, read that in the book. Yeah, pretty cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, the reason why I love this record so much is because I feel like that the songwriting in that is of a caliber with Dylan and Cohen and those guys. I really believe that.
Oh, I do too. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't thought this is great and needs to be heard.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to interview you on the record about this album, is because it was independently released on CD and it's now out of print. Thank goodness it's on streaming. But it's a really big piece of work, I think, that collection of songs, and I feel like one of these days it's going to get out there and people are going to realize, wow, this guy is better than everybody.
We worked really hard on that record. We really did. We worked hard, pre-production, in the studio, post-production. We put all of everything we had into that record. And the engineer too, Dennis Carter, who does all my stuff. And it was just delightful. But it was hard work. It was good hard work. And we put in quite a few studio hours doing that. And John financed it himself.
Wow. Yeah, and, that's incredible.
I mean, the other thing is that it came out just as the internet was kind of starting to really happen.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I think the internet was there and all that, but not like it is today.
Yeah.
You know, there's much more platforms for things like what he was doing than there was back then.
Yeah.
What was that, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 20 next year.
Yeah, you know, and we just used to get together at his apartment and go over these songs, and I'd take all these notes, and I still have all my notes.
Oh, that's great.
And I have a pile of. I started a record company after that.
Oh, really?
And he called Delta, and I said, I want you to draw the logo for me. He goes, oh yeah, I'll do it for free. And so I have a bag of all these different versions of the logo that he.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then I did a record called Muddy Vishnu,
Okay.
and he sang a song on it.
Really?
We recut Overdose.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Look, it's probably on YouTube. Yeah, Terry Robb, Muddy Vishnu, Overdose, and Callahan sings on it. And this is after his record was made, and he wasn't feeling well. And I said, well, John, we're just going to come to your house and have you sing. He said, okay. And then we went to his house, and he was laying in bed, and we had the track on a laptop, which was kind of a new thing to do at that time. And I recorded his vocal over the music, and I told him this is like a Smithsonian Alan Lomax field recording.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He said, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's kind of what I feel like I'm doing is field recording interviews. I'm not an interviewer at all. You're my second one, and my first one I made a complete ass of myself. But
who did you interview?
Guy Madden. Do you know him? The filmmaker?
The director?
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? You told him your favorite movie wasn't his, it was The Wild Bunch or something?
No. I was interviewing him about a music video that he made for this group Sparkle Horse, and he said I would give it a B+. And I was intending to say, you're wrong, that's an A+ video. But instead I interrupted him and said, you know what I'd give it? I'd give it a B+. And I listened back to the interview, and he's like, kind of like, huh? Like, I'm such an idiot. And I kept going with it. I don't know. I was too excited, I guess.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Was he a nice guy?
Oh, so sweet. Yeah. I sure appreciate you doing this.
Sure. My pleasure.
And thanks for making the record, because it's really one of my favorite records of all time, and it's really important to me.
Thank you very much for telling me that. That makes me feel great, and I think it would make John feel good. And my wife likes that record a lot, and she's not a musician or anything, but she likes to sing once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's not singing songs in French, because she's French, she likes to sing those Callahan songs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
They're like demented nursery rhymes, basically. So.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and it's so funny because there's such lovely melodies and the way he sings it, but they're dark.
Very.
And that's the way it works.
Mm-hmm. Suicide in the Fall, I think, is one of the prettiest songs I've ever heard.
Absolutely. The chord changes are beautiful, and the way Peter Bo played the piano behind that, and his delivery, there's nothing. When we did that, I thought there's nothing more I can add to this.
Yeah.
Just leave it the way it is. That's another thing that a producer does is to say when not to do things.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for making an album that really, truly changed my life.
You're quite welcome.
I really appreciate what you did for John in making that a reality for him, because boy, the payoff was huge. That someday that album's going to be a lot more well known than it is now.
Well, I hope so.
And I'm going to do everything that I can along the way to help any eager ear.
Let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you so much again, Terry, and you have a good day.
You too. Take care of yourself.
All righty. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Purple winos in the rain, broken noses, broken veins, the cathedrals and the trains. Purple winos in the rain, yellow pit bulls on a string, candied yams and cotton's king. Okie Jim can't sing a thing. yellow pit bulls on a string. Sister Lucy, remember us? We still know Latin and we hardly cuss. Lost a leg down on Rue St. Croix. Could you see your way clear for an old altar boy? Purple winos on the lawn, Matthew, Mark, and Luke and John. Close your eyes and summer's gone. Purple winos on the lawn. Purple winos in the rain, broken noses, broken veins, the cathedrals and the trains. Purple winos in the rain.
What a nice guy, huh? I'd like to thank Terry Robb for being my special guest and making a dream come true by doing this little episode about that very special album, Purple Winos in the Rain. Terry's also an incredible musician, one of the greatest guitarists I've ever heard, and a great academic of music as well, especially the Delta Blues era. Maybe we can get him back on the show to talk about that sometime. Anyhow, friends and neighbors, that's all the show we got for you tonight. Tune in next time. We'll do something completely different. Or we won't. I don't know. We'll see.
Cowboys of Kool Valley is a production for Pretend Tiger Quality Recordings and Ephemeral Goods.
I'm just a free bird, totally free, and happy still to be with my crew and leeward over the sea that's covered in concrete. Go to sea and see the wind and wave will be your haven till you find your tree. Oh, to be the one that you will bring back in your beak so tenderly. I'm just a free bird, tree bird, a free bird or tree bird. Used to be a tree bird, a branch was my home, desireless to roam any way the wind blew, blood to my bone. So I say yes to go to see the bell told me I ring it when I'm weary and the crystal sings. Oh, to be the nesting me, I'll put the babes to sleep eventually. I'm just a free bird, totally free, and happy still to me. I'll become a tree bird, someday you'll see me singing from my tree. Me singing from my tree. Me singing from